And I'm just going to tell everybody that's here who Jesus is and why he loves them. And I'm not going to explain it very well at all. Because after I'm done, I'm going to say, if you're confused, go talk to the friend that brought you. Of course, that wasn't all that we did. See, for the month leading up to it, all that we would do in our youth group was we would teach kids how to share the good news of who Jesus was. Right? And we'd try to break it down for them so it was real simple. We'd say, hey, there's only 3 parts of this story that you got to tell. The first part is who you were before Jesus. For some of them, that was really tough because A, they hadn't really been alive that long, and B, they thought they were always a Christian, right? They kind of grew up in one of those households a little bit like I did, where I was like, I don't know, I've always gone to church. I've always thought Jesus was great. For some of them, though, the story was great because it ended at the Pizza Palooza the year before, right? They could tell everything about what their life was like before Jesus, and they'd say, and then last year. Because the middle part was the important part. They got to proclaim when the kingdom of heaven came near to them. When they looked at it and said, this is when I met Jesus. This is when Jesus came over, took control of my life, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't want to live my own way anymore. I've messed it up and I want you to take over. And then the last part was, and what's your life been like since Jesus took over? And what's funny is you'd think that for the kids that had a hard time with the first part, it'd be easier to answer the third part, but it really wasn't. Even for the kids that would just start it with, well, up until Pizza Palooza last year, this is what I did. The difference from that year to now was amazing for them. And they could tell you so many things that were different. And so we do this every year. And it was just so much fun. And then one of our leaders had this really strange idea. And I won't bore you with the whole thing today. I will someday because it's an amazing story, right? But he decided that we needed to get this big bell and hang it on the wall. And it had a whole backstory that most of our students understood. But basically it was just, when Jesus enters your life, you go ring the bell. You need to announce to everybody, hey, something just happened in my life and I'm never going to be the same again. And as long as I live, I will never forget this, because my wife's smiling in the background, because there was one awesome Wednesday night. It was a Pizza Palooza, or it might have been the week after. I can't really remember. I said I'd never forget, but details are like that. And so we give this message, and God just moves in that place. And I look up at one point in time, and there is a line of students waiting to go ring this bell. God had done something in that room, and there were so many people that were so excited to walk up and say, Jesus is here. He made it. Like that's what I did today, and I want everybody to know. And it was so much fun to see all of our students that had shared that message. That God had thrown their anchor right in the middle of their school, and they said, hey, this is where I am, and so this is where I'm going to make a difference. He's called me to do something here. He sent me out into my school, and so now that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's the same thing that God is calling us to do. In the last few weeks and months, I've had a lot of meetings, both kind of before and after I was hired. And in so many of them, I've heard a statement that sounds something like, man, I really hope that we can get some younger people in here. And I've thought, yeah, that sounds great. But here's the thing. There's really only one kind of new person that I want to come here. So there's lots of awesome churches that are real close to us here. And I know lots of great people that go to quite a few of them, and I'm sure you do as well. And I don't want any of them to come here. Like, we don't need anybody that already knows Jesus to just kind of switch churches and come here. But I got to thinking, what if these seats started getting filled with people who didn't know Jesus? What if these seats started getting filled with people who were introduced to him for the first time by the people in this room? But Jesus? I don't know about that. It's kind of a scary deal. Like, I think that's what the disciples were saying. Because the next part of this passage here, it's like Jesus read their minds. He's God, he can do that. And knew that they were going to be really worried about a lot of different things. Starting in verse 9, don't get any gold or silver or copper to take with you in your belts, no bag for the journey or extra shirt or sandals or staff, for the worker is worth his keep. Whatever town or village you enter, search there for some worthy person and stay at their house until you leave. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. If the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If it's not, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. Truly I tell you, it will be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town. But Jesus, no, it's not going to make a difference. But Jesus, I'm scared. I don't know how people are going to treat me. But I've lived next to them for a long time and I've never actually talked to them, and now it's awkward. But I don't know, I might lose my job, I might lose my social standing. But Jesus, that's going to be tough. And he says, I know, I used to live in heaven and I'm here now. Trust me, I know what this tough thing is like. But I've called you to do something, right? You can't just cruise around in your boat all day long. I threw an anchor out, I called you here because there's a bunch of fish. Right? I taught you to be fishers of men, and now here you are, and you're in a spot that has so many of them, and I've got a job for you to do. And are you going to do it? And I think that's what's so fun about this call, is that after the call comes so much. After the call, he equips you, right? After the call, he gives you everything that you're going to need. After the call, he tells you what to go do. After the call, he says, it doesn't make a difference if you're a little scared or a little nervous. I'm there for you. I'm going to help you out with this. And one of the things I was thinking about this week as I was praying through this, and I don't know why, but it just kind of hit me. So I'm not sure if it makes a difference for you here, but I thought it was awesome, so I think I'm just going to tell you anyhow. Is that when all those students in the middle would tell their story about how they met Jesus, it dawned on me Jesus has that same story for all of us. And I don't know why I'd never really thought about that. I was sitting in a room with a few people this week, and we were talking, and I'm trying to meet a lot of new people, and it's a little bit difficult. But I was talking to a lady, and I looked at her. I felt silly after I said it, but I feel silly a lot, so it's okay. And I said, "Oh, you're the Christmas card lady." Because the first time that we had met, I was trying to put a card in one of the boxes over there, and I knew the person's first name that I was trying to put it in, but had no idea what their last name was at all. And so she was sitting there putting a bunch of Christmas cards away, and she's like, "Oh, who are you looking for? I can help you with that." And she was just so friendly. And so, once we started talking, I just remembered, oh, that's right, that's where I met you. Of course, my version of meeting her and her version of meeting me were very, very different. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my goodness, I've got this story of what I think it was like to meet Jesus. But man, what's his story like? When he sits there, hey, I was knocking to see if anybody was going to answer. I knocked on the door and I said, "Jeff, let me in." And I want to hear his story about what he said it was like when I opened that door. And then I started thinking a little bit about our students, and I thought, you know what? For so many of our students, they were never alone when they opened that door. And I thought, how many people's stories are our names going to be involved in when Jesus is talking about them? When he says, oh, when I opened the door, when this person opened the door, as I was standing there knocking, you were right there with them. You were helping him. You were telling him, oh yeah, I opened the door for him a while ago. And it was awesome. And I think that's what God's calling us to. Of course, there's a lot more in this, and Ray kind of scared us with this morning, saying it's not always going to be an easy task, and the second part is a lot harder. But we can do it. That's why God's thrown our anchor here. Let's pray. Jesus, we love you, and we thank you for calling us here, for giving us a job to do, for being a God who prepares us and equips us before you ever send us out. God, we just pray right now that you would give us the courage to answer your call. God, help us see the reason that you've thrown our anchor here. We love you, and in your name we pray. Amen.